Assalamu alaikum. In our discussion to Surah number 2 and the dua at the end of Surah Al-Fatiha, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, and we were reflecting over Ayah 40 in Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah number 2. And we read the ayah, يا بني إسرائيل اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأني فضلت اذكروا نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم وأوفوا بعهدي أوفي بعهدكم وإياي فارهبون. We read this the last time, and we are trying to understand now the part that says Allah is telling and saying the Israelis, اذكروا, remember نعمتي التي أنعمت عليكم, my blessing, my ni'mah that I blessed you with. I gave you this ni'mah. And we are asking the question, what Allah is talking about? What ni'mah is this? We mentioned how Jacob now is ready to take his sons and his family and all his belonging and go back to Canaan. Forget the story, whether it's true or false or a lie, his quarrel with his brother Esau. Now Jacob is back in Palestine, in Canaan, living among the Canaanite, like his grandfather Abraham did, alayhi salatu wasalam, like his father Ishaq did, alayhi salatu wasalam. Now Jacob back in Palestine, among the Canaanite. Then we all know, or some of us know, the vast majority, how the 10 sons of Jacob, Israel alayhi salatu wasalam, they conspired against their young brother Joseph alayhi salatu wasalam, and they threw him in the well, and then some merchant passing by, they picked him up, they took him to Egypt. And for about maybe 24 years. Now, Joseph alayhi salatu wasalam in Egypt, second in command as a high-ranking officer, next to the king, after the king, so powerful, in a very mighty place. But he is also the man of the Lord, a prophet. And Jacob was crying so hard that he became blind, in sorrow about the loss of his son, that his 10 sons lied and said the wolf ate him. Now finally, the story goes, and Jacob take all his family and joined with Joseph alayhi salatu wasalam in Egypt. Now all of them are in Egypt. None of them left in Palestine. And this is supposed to be an everlasting promise, according to their lies. This everlasting promise is for Ishmael, not for Isaac. I'm discussing this in different videos, answering someone called John Haji, an evangelist in the USA, showing him how this promise in the book is about Ishmael, not about Isaac and the Israelis, about us, the Muslims. Very well. Now they are in Egypt. In Egypt, after Jacob والسلام, and the children of Jacob, the Israelis, Bani Israel, were living even in the hardest conditions. There were drought, no rain coming, no plant, no food, starving. Allah moved them from this starvation and poor state in the company of Joseph والسلام, the second to the king. They lived so rich and wealthy and healthy, with lands that provide so much next to the Nile, abundance of water to satisfy all their needs as farmers and shepherds. They become so rich. And here's where the ni'mah starts. Not too long after their birth, few years after their birth, they became among the richest families in Egypt. One of the richest family in Egypt, because of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Very well, this is the first blessing. Let's continue with the story. And then they lived for a long period of time. All the sons of Yaqub died, but each son left a whole tribe after him. For example, Lawi, the Levi, he left the tribe of the Levites. Reuben left the tribe of Reubenites. Judah left the tribe that the Jews came from long time after this. So every one of them became a tribe and many children. For hundreds of years, for about 500 years, they lived with complete comfort. But they abused the Egyptians so bad, miserably. They have this rotten habit. Somebody will come to them because they have money. Some Egyptians will come asking for help. They will lend them, but to take doubles back, riba. So they lend them $100, for example, but they ask for 400 back. An example. There were no dollars back then. But I'm just giving an example to bring the story closer to your heart. Now, if the Egyptian cannot pay, they say, what do you have? You have lamps? Give us the lamps. You have furniture? Take the furniture. You have a house? Take the house. You have children? Give us the children to serve in our farms. They abused the Egyptians in the worst manner you can imagine. During those days, there were the kings ruling Egypt. Kings, Hyksos. They came from the Arabian Peninsula. They don't have water there, sweet water for their lamps. They were shepherds. So they crossed over the Red Sea and they came, or they crossed through Canaan and they came through the Gaza Strip, Sinai, Egypt, next to the Nile, for prosperity of water and abundance of water. And they became strong. They defeated the Egyptians and pharaohs. The pharaohs back then, one of the families of the pharaohs, and the Hyksos became the kings of Egypt. During this period, the Israelis, survived for 500 years, became a nation. Now, things changed. The pharaohs, made an army strong enough, and they fought against the Hyksos, and everything changed. 180 degrees spin. Now the pharaohs came back to be ruling Egypt. So from kings now we have pharaohs again. There were pharaohs, kings, now pharaohs. One of the pharaohs came and he looked at the history of those rotten Israelis and what they have been doing against the Egyptians. So he placed them all in slavery, removed all their possession, their homes. As they stole the homes of the Egyptians, he took their homes. As they stole the gold, the silver, the sheep, everything, even the children. So Pharaoh did the same to them, an eye for an eye. And he put them into slavery. And the Egyptians, for 400 years, and the Jewish book says in another verse, 430 years, they were slaves, their women were abused. An Egyptian can see any Israeli woman, can take her and do whatever he wishes. They used to kill their firstborn sons 1 year and leave the other year for the children to continue the Israeli to serve them. And the men used to do all kind of hard work, subdued and humiliated under the Egyptians for 400 to 430 years. Imagine the horrific life and state the Israelis were in for such a lengthy period of time. the Lord led them under the Egyptians to punish them, but the Egyptians overdid it. And Allah said, finally, they don't deserve, but enough is enough. Pharaoh have done so much bad work against the Israeli nation, so let us remove them from this miserable state. They had enough punishment for what they did in the past for hundreds of years, what they did to the Egyptians. So now it's time to give him comfort and take him to another land with abundance of goodness to relax and have a good life. And Allah said, وَنُرِيدُ أَن نَمُنَّ عَلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلِ. We want to put favor over the children of Israel. So let's see how Allah said, أَنْعَمْتُ عَلَيْكُمْ. I blessed you. I gave you ni'mah. How? We'll discuss this next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.